Amid the race for a coronavirus vaccine, a leading bioethicist is reminding Catholics we have an obligation to speak up for an ethically sourced treatment. A possible vaccine for COVID-19 is now in phase 3 of clinical trials, meaning it will soon be tested for patient safety and effectiveness. The vaccine was co-developed by the biotech company Moderna and by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Pro-life research group the Charlotte Lozier Institute has called this Moderna vaccine, quote, ethically uncontroversial. And the National Catholic Bioethics Center has also said it does not appear this vaccine utilized cells from aborted babies. But the head of NCBC does say its hurried development makes it all the more important bioethicists scrutinize the vaccine. Dr. Joseph Meany is president of the National Catholic Bioethics Center. He joins us now via Skype. Dr. Meany, welcome back. First off, can you walk us through the Church's teachings and concerns when it comes to vaccine development and the use of aborted fetal tissue? I know the Pontifical Academy for Life has addressed this.
Yes, absolutely. And also the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. The instruction Dignitatis Personae was very, very clear about this, that any form of scientific research that uses, unethical materials, so cells from aborted babies or, stem cells that are obtained through the killing of human embryos, et cetera, are completely antithetical to the Catholic vision. And so we as Catholics ourselves have to protest this, and then researchers have a moral duty not to use those unethically sourced materials.
From your understanding, is this Moderna vaccine ethically sourced? This seems to be the one at the forefront of development.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting, it's a new vaccine, right? So most vaccines are developed directly with the viruses, and what they're doing there is working with the mRNA. So it's a completely new type of vaccine. They actually don't grow it in cell lines at all. And so in that sense, they're not growing it in any cell lines that were derived from an aborted child, which is wonderful. Some questions have come up about, some of the inputs into developing this vaccine may have used aborted fetal cell lines, and also the testing of the efficacy of this vaccine, and maybe other vaccines as well, may be using these aborted fetal cell lines. So it's strange how, there's a very complicated picture here.
Is there another vaccine you have your eye on as well?
Yes, so interestingly, Sanofi Pasteur is developing a COVID-19 vaccine, and they just announced actually two wonderful news. One is that they had two new vaccines that they're putting out to replace old ones that had been developed using aborted fetal cell lines. And then they're doing a COVID-19 vaccine. They have one in development that, again, uses ethical cell lines. It's beautiful to see companies are realizing this is a real issue for Catholics and pro-lifers.
Absolutely. Joseph, the administration's program to develop a COVID vaccine is called Operation Warp Speed. Does this rush for a vaccine concern you?
Sure. I mean, it's wonderful. We all agree that it's great to go as fast as possible, as safely as possible. And of course, I mean, there is a reason why there are all these safeguards put into place, because human lives are at risk when they're doing these human trials. And so although the warp speed aspect is wonderful when it comes to production, if we can speed the production of a good vaccine, that's great. But in terms of the trials themselves, a lot of these safeguards exist for a purpose. And, some things might be, moved a little bit faster than others, but really, they should be very cautious about cutting corners when it comes to human safety in these trials.
What are questions that we as Catholics should be asking as a coronavirus vaccine is developed? Yeah,
so the big question is, how was this vaccine developed? Did they use the HEK 293, the aborted fetal cell lines or not? What kind of testing is being done of these vaccines? What kind of safety measures are put into place? And even there's some other questions that are arising in terms of, forcing people to do the vaccine, or who's going to be able to get to it first? What kind of priorities are going to be put out into place? All these are really big ethical questions surrounding vaccines.
And lastly, can you just clarify, is there ever a scientific need for the use of these aborted fetal cell lines for the coronavirus vaccine?
So the great news is that there is not, right? So many vaccines in development right now for COVID-19, use a variety of cell lines that have nothing to do with abortion. The sad thing is that this has sort of become the standard, right? Companies have been using these aborted fetal cell lines for decades now. And a lot of these companies just have these protocols in place. And of course, we're going to use the HEC-293 line or one of these other cell lines derived from an abortion, but they don't have to. And if there's enough protest, enough people say, look, I'm opposed to this, I'm going to boycott this vaccine, go for another ethically sourced vaccine, I think the companies will listen, because a lot of them maybe don't have as many ethics concerns as they're concerned about their own bottom line.
Well, we are so grateful for your voice and wisdom on this. Dr. Joseph Meany, president of the National Catholic Bioethics Center. Thank you.
Thank you.